everybody. It is Tommy Scoble, and you're on the Lifeboat. Hope you're having a decent day. I'm getting by. To be honest, I have a pimple on my nose the size of a Chevrolet. Haven't happened since high school. I'm a little bummed out about it. I'm not going to lie to you. Hey, the nurse who loved me. Good to see you, Roberta. How are you? Hey, Meredith Lynn. Welcome to the Lifeboat. Good to have you. I know you're cheating, so shh. Listening at work. Love it. Missy Ann, how are you? I'm glad you're here. Hey, Bayou, babe. And you'll be doing it while cooking. I am just background noise. Remember the like button says Cindy G. I'm kidding, people. But I should be. If you're doing nothing, golly, have the Lifeboat on. Nikki Thomas, good to see you. What's up, Cindy? Is Voldemort going to get locked up? Asks Nikki. Well, we're going to, I'll be talking about that today on the Atwood program. So do yourself a favor, because you don't want to miss this. I mean, you just don't. You know what I'm saying? You just don't want to miss it. I'm going to be on the Sean Atwood program, and I will be talking about things Voldemort. Scary dude, man. If you're a content creator, he's a scary dude. Samantha, good to see you. From the UK. All right. I'm heading over to the UK shortly. Paula Penley, how are you? Be happy. Chase the heat. That is the Johnny Scodel. Rosanna Dana, how are you? You know what? I've been trying to talk my brother into doing true crime. I swear to God, for going on 2 years. Cajun Queen, how are you? Neely Cross, good to see you. And we're starting to fart around and do some stuff. This what happened with the gestures was really good timing, because I love the fact that I'm working with my brother. Chrissy from Maui, how are you? And my girlfriend. It's a fun deal. Mary, good to see you. SoCal friend, how are you? Welcome to the boat. We're going to be talking about Brendan Paul today, folks. We're going to get this thing. Hey, Robin Miners, good to see you. We're going to be getting this boat out to sea here shortly. And we're going to be talking about Brendan Paul. If that name doesn't sound familiar, or if you think he might have gotten into a fight with Mike Tyson, no, this is a cat that used to play some basketball, right? Used to play some b-ball up at Syracuse, I believe it was. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. I know he was wearing something orange. Tractor, good to see you. Anka, I'm pretty happy about being over there. I enjoy the hell out of going on that program. You'll spend my evening with Tommy. Well, the good news is this is going to be a good one, man. This is really going to be a very, very solid show. I'm pretty proud of what we got coming up, and I'll tell you why. The cool thing about the Atwood program is this: if you hang out on the boat, right, you get a lot of what's going on all week long, and there are people that don't. There are people, obviously, because there's, we'll get 3,000 or 3,500 people in the chat. So there's a lot of people that just catch me on the Atwood program, and this has been a stellar week in terms of all things in the Diddyverse. But right now, hello, Hill Hath No Fury. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Arabian Bard, glad you're here. Hey, Leanne. But this is going to be a good one because of all of this stuff going on. But today, right here on the Lifeboat, we're going to be talking about the drug mule, right? Allegedly, he is the drug mule for not just the diddler, but the diddler parties. He helps wrangle women. This is what is alleged. He helps wrangle women. He helps get chemicals. Keeps all of those chemicals on him in a pack at all times. And that list is really a pretty decent list if you're a partier, right? He had to have cannabis, high grade on him at all times. He had to have that pink blow, which isn't blow, but they call it pink blow, which is funny because very rarely does it have much, if any, of the toot in it. It's more of an amphetamine product, and they throw in a bunch of other stuff to make it fun, right? It's a club drug. Also, mushrooms, MDMA or Molly for the younger folk. All of this stuff had to be on him at all times. And, of course, a bevy of opioids. More often than not, perk 30s, which I promise you were not perk 30s. And this is why the people that were getting called out and taken off to places to be tested were coming back with horse tranquilizer in their system. That has been alleged by the attorney in Houston, Busby. He has alleged that a lot of the people that have reached out to his firm, people that had gone and been tested at hospitals, tested for xylazine. Xylazine is a horse tranquilizer. If you guys know what I'm talking about, put a deuce in the chat, because I don't want to do a breakdown of trank and all things along that nature. If everybody knows what I'm talking about, if you don't, I'm just running through things that the world knows about, and we don't need that. Yes, that is what this cat does. Okay. Yeah, so most of you know what this stuff is. And that's why they weren't dropping horse tranquilizers on women, right? What they were doing was they were giving people what they thought were perk 30s. Perk 30s on the street these days are most likely going to be trank, right? We've lost 3 people that their autopsies read xylazine and an analog of fent. Usually, unless you test the person within 6 hours, everything starts coming back looking like morphine. Your body processes, your body has to take everything that you bring in, turn it into morphine in your body, and then it can go out through your liver. And that's how that whole process works, which is, it's crazy, but true, really kind of wild. So this kid carries all of this stuff on him and he helps wrangle, he helps do all of this, but he gets popped, right? Shortly after the raid, I believe it was 2 days after the raid, somewhere in there, getting on Diddler's plane in Florida airport. That I can't say the name of the Florida airport, but it does start with an O. Hey, Murph, good to see you. Glad you're here. Hey, Nikki, how are you? Cindy G, good to see you. Gypsy Soul, I'm glad you're here. So this has been kind of this has been a long time coming. And I have been saying since this kid got popped, right? Where the hell is he? He doesn't pop up anywhere. And I promise you, a picture of this dude walking around is going to be worth a crap load of money. A crap load of money. And if you got a video of this kid walking around, a video of this kid getting in a car, any of these things would really sell, right? Massively. Because this guy's very tied up in Diddy and everything Diddy sells. So why are we not seeing him? That to me is a really, really interesting question. These chemicals are used to knock out 1,000-pound animals. Has to be some collateral damages in corpses. Bet on it. The number one cause of people leaving this planet here in the United States of America is exactly what we're talking about. A combination of 2 substances that have been mixed together and called trank. Right? They call it the overdoses now all get linked to fent. And truth be told, there's less fent in this every single day, right? They're transitioning from fent into a different substance that are in the nitazine or nitazine, depending on, I guess, on how you pronounce it, family, isonitazine and phytonitazine or isonitazine or phytonitazine. Anyway, they're selling it under the name Phyto, and southern states are talking about it a lot. It's a very cheap opioid. This is a lot easier to make than the analogs that they're using now currently for fent. They can make it for pennies on the dollar in comparison, and it is a very simple recipe. It is to opioids what crystal was to methamphetamine. A bathtub recipe of stuff you can crank out. Then the problem with this stuff, according to people that had the same addiction that I did, right? They put this stuff in spoons, they cook it, and they stick it in an arm, right? Okay. The beef on this stuff is that it doesn't have legs, right? It doesn't last. So you get really, really wasted, and it's a good time and all of that. And then in a very short period of time, say 5 hours or 7 hours or something like that, you need another one or you start getting sick. With H, the stuff that I was addicted to, that was not normally the case. Normally you had 12 to 14 hours after using before you were going to start to feel the effects of not having it in your system. So one of the things that they did to offset this was to mix in, right, another chemical. And that other chemical is xylazine and is a horse tranquilizer. Not a great thing to put into people. For equine and bovine, knocking out horses and cows, right? Now, I want to tell you something. I'm going to be shocked, Cotton. I'm going to be shocked if there's not a chemist lying in the weeds, right? This guy had a lot of different kind of chemicals laying around. And I think because of how often they mention X in the exact same sentence as G, there's a lot of really weird stuff. I think it's going to be fascinating if it comes out in the wash. Hey, Vixen, good to see you. Crafty Witch, what's happening? Hey, Nikki Thomas. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how he was procuring all of this stuff and where are all of the corpses. I'm sorry. There has to be people that didn't make it. There has to be. If all we were talking about, forget everything I just spent the last 7 minutes talking about, right? If all it was what's in those 1,000 bottles, allegedly in those 1,000 bottles of baby oil, right? If all he was working with was gamma hydroxybutyric acid, You still don't know, and we've talked about this a lot. B. Hendricks, how are you? Hey, Miss D. Dead Cell, glad you're here. We talk about this a lot, but you don't know what happens to the person that walks through the door, right? Girl comes in and she's 120 pounds and she's had 6 cocktails. And the person she's with is 180 pounds and has not had any cocktails. I mean, are you doing a question and answer thing with these people before you dose them up? Because I'm guessing that's probably not the case. More importantly, how do you know that in the car on the way over there, the girl's not going like this? I can't believe I got an invite to a Diddy party. I'm terrified. Take 2 milligrams of Xanax. It'll smooth you right out. Take a couple of milligrams, alprazolam. Nothing to worry about. You can relax. Person takes a Xanny bar or 2, has a couple of more drinks, and then goes in and gets dosed up with this stuff. You can't convince me as a person that spent 80% of my life addicted to dope. You cannot convince me that one of 2 things existed here. Them putting a lot of people in taxi cabs and dumping them in dumpsters on the other side of town, or a lot of people that simply disappeared, or you had doctors on staff so that when these people overdose, that there was somebody there professional to bring these people back. I think that that's a possibility, right? Allegedly, and who knows, man? You know, a lot of times with the stuff that gets said, but allegedly after these big ass, sex sessions that go on for days that they call freak offs, they needed to run IV fluids into the participants because they would be so dehydrated. It's bizarre to me. It really is. Like, maybe let them get something to drink, or the dictator behind the camera isn't even letting them take a 5-minute break. These things allegedly went on for days. Can you imagine? Who cares? Good to see you. I love the name too. I really do. Who cares says, I think the drug mule is singing like a bird, man. Well, I'll tell you something. Now that we've got a decent number of people in here, let's talk about that. So the charges have been dropped against Brendan Paul. Why? Why have the charges been dropped? People are speculating all over the internet. This is a big thing in the Diddyverse. The charges had to have been dropped because this dude's cutting the deal, right? Got to be. Why would they let all of the charges against this guy go? Well, I don't want to be a buzzkill because I want that to be true more than anybody here. I promise you, I want that to be true. But if we keep this real, this was a possession charge, right? This was a possession charge. This kid's never been in any trouble before. And it wasn't possession of, 4 keys. He was caught with what would only be called personal consumption kind of dope. Like, there was not a pile of this stuff. So he is eligible, as would you or anybody else on planet America. You have an opportunity the first time you get busted for something like dope to do a diversion program. And usually it varies from state to state. I don't know what Florida's gig was, but it varies normally from state to state how these diversion programs work. But more often than not, it requires you going to some classes. So you got to sit in a room with some people that talk to you about drugs, talk to you about drug addiction. It probably got to do a little bit of one-on-one. And most importantly, you got to keep your nose clean for an indeterminate period of time, whatever the judge puts down. Sometimes a year, sometimes 6 months, sometimes 2 years. But the diversion program is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. There's no place that I'm aware of in America that doesn't have a diversion program, right? And it's a great concept. It really is. There's nothing cooler than the diversion program because it gives the opportunity for people that got a little off track but aren't a criminal, to clean up that record, because that record's going to be a bitch and it's going to follow you for the rest of your life, and it's going to make everything that you do more difficult. It's just the way it goes. So the diversion program is not a bad deal. Yeah, he is young, SoCal friend. Absolutely. This is not an old dude, right? And it gives him an opportunity to kind of get back on track. Now, let's keep it real. He also did this in the Diddyverse. This wasn't just a kid that got caught going to a bar and he had a couple of grams of blow on him or something. This is probably going to haunt him at a slightly bigger level because of the fact that he's going to be associated with Diddy in one way or the other for the rest of his life. However, what we don't know, because he could have just soldiered up and said, I'm not talking to you people about anything. I'll wait for Diddy and his people to bail me out. There's a decent chance that happened, right? I'm going to shut up, get an attorney. The attorney's going to get me diversion, and P. Diddy's going to take care of me when this is over. That's a possibility. In fact, if all they have on him was what he had in his pocket when they caught him at the airport in Florida, then more than likely He did soldier up. He just soldiered up and he got, hey, relatable Reese. You know what? I do look good in green. I'm sorry, man. I don't look good in many colors, but I do look good in green. It's my girlfriend, Reese. Somebody put Reese's link up in there if you don't mind. Because we are going to be doing an awful lot of some secret society hunting, so to speak, on her channel and my channel and Johnny's. So, Johnny, you could throw a link up there too. It would make it easy. Electric Boogaloo, good to see you. So what we got with this kid now, if all they got is the sack he had in his pocket, there was also a little bit of grass in there. They're always going to throw that out. If you got a little bit of weed and a little bit of a hard drug, forget the weed. There really aren't too many places anymore that are going to bust your chops about that. It's not going to happen. So the only thing he was really facing was the other substance that he was carrying, right? So it's not enough for this guy to turn, in my opinion, right? Unless he's just softer than hospital cotton, I think that this kid probably wouldn't roll on Diddy for that, right? He spent a lot of time with him. Allegedly, he was seen packaging up bags of dope in Diddy's garage to take it on a trip to England. So this guy's he's not just sort of an ancillary player. This is a guy that reported directly allegedly to Christine Karam and was Diddy's go-to guy. This guy, there's a lot of chemicals in this case, right? They're everywhere. And allegedly, this is the chemical guy. This was the dude. He was a basketball player that started to make beats. At least that's the story, that somehow he met Diddy because he started to do a little independent producing or farting around with beats and doing something online. This is the story. There doesn't seem to be any way to chase that story down and find out if it's true. For all we know, they met at a club and he bought some disco biscuits from him. I mean, honestly, who the hell knows? But because it is really hard to chase down. But somehow they got hooked up and he just became a fixture. So he's probably seen a great deal. He's alleged. Here's the thing. So this case is gone. He took care of it. He did the diversion. Smooth. You're done. Everything is groovy. There's still that Little Rod lawsuit, and he's all through that stuff. The civil things are completely different, but the statutes of limitations on that civil stuff is all in action, right? Little Rod's lawsuit. Little Rod was doing all this stuff in 2023, right? This is not a bazillion years ago. This is a case. These things are current. So if the stuff that's alleged in there, if the prosecution takes a look at it, anything in that Little Rod lawsuit could end up with people being indicted. If they believe it, we're not going to run out of statutes of limitations on anything in there, right? Bill Herrera asks the question. Ding, 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 ding. That, people, is the question of the day. Where is Christine Karam? Because that woman, again, odd that we haven't seen a picture of her. Odd that we haven't seen a picture of the drug mule. People, you got any idea what that kind of crap would be worth right now? These people have to go out and eat, right? These people have to go do how we see none of these people. They disappeared off of the face of the earth. Now, maybe they got people going out and getting their stuff for them. Maybe people shop for them. Maybe they don't leave the house. Maybe there are people parked out in front of their houses with telephoto lenses and they just don't come out, right? Maybe. That's a possibility. I don't think that's the case. I think the reason that we've never seen a picture of either of these two is because there's more to it than that little sack he had in his pocket when he was at that Oakland airport in Florida. I think there's more to it than that, man. I think that they got a lot of dirt on him. And I think that since that crap went down, this kid's probably been sitting in a room going, you know, they probably had to hit him with a phone book to get him to stop talking. And I'm not saying that disrespectfully, because if it were me, oh man, look, take the temperature. This kid's not locked up, right? He's not at MDC Brooklyn. You think that there's a decent chance that this Paul kid might have stepped onto the internet? Think he's got a pretty good idea of what people are saying? Yes, I am on Atwood again today, bro. I will be on there at 1:55 my time. That's 12:55 West Coast, 12:55 Pacific. I will be on the Sean Atwood program, and you don't have to come over. If you don't, I'm not going to ever talk to you again. But you don't have to. No, I look forward to seeing as many of you as can get over there. That would be fantastic. That would really, really make me happy. I hope to see you over there. We're going to be doing a lot about the week in review from Diddy. But do me a favor. If you think that this kid and KK are working with the federal government, give me a deuce. If you don't, if you think that they both are soldiering up or trying to run and getting lawyers, because by the way, that could be the case, right? If your boss has got a couple of $100 million, if you don't think they're soldiering, I mean, if you think that they're not working with the feds, give me a 3. It's a possibility. I think KK has got to work with them. There's no way that woman could dodge. She's just, I mean, this is the person that did it all, right? This is by his own words. He did a great post on her on Instagram where he said, "This is my right-hand man," this woman. "Without her, nothing that I do could happen. My day-to-day, everything that," I mean, he laid it out. He laid it out. Now, I believe wholeheartedly, hey, nurse, I believe wholeheartedly that KK's got to cut a deal. But I don't think that about the drug mule. Miss D, I would imagine that the superseding indictments, they're definitely coming down the pipe. They definitely are coming. And here's what I think we've been waiting on. I think we've been waiting on the office to change hands, right? The prosecutor that brought all of these charges in the Southern District against Diddy and all of that jazz is leaving. And we knew that was happening. I believe the date of that was the 13th. I figure I'd be surprised if it doesn't come down in the next couple of days. I really will. I'll be shocked. I was assuming that we would see it within a couple of days, right, of this person leaving. They don't want a feather in the last group's cap. That sucks, doesn't it? But that's the truth. That's usually how it works. The new crew coming in would like to bring some indictments. But I think the fact that we saw Comey's daughter get recruited, this is the woman that prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell. I think the fact that we saw her brought over to the prosecution's team should give us a pretty good idea where this is going. I think that we're going to see some underage stuff. That's kind of her wheelhouse. It's what she's always done. I like it, Patty. Let's see here. Professor Patty says, they're all testifying. Even Diddy is straight snitching on Voldemort. 25 years of photos and videos, but nope, I don't know him. Do you love that? Of course, the professor is making reference to Diddy's attorney, Spyro. And I say Spyro because I understand that it is pronounced Spyro. I'm not being my usual wise Alex self. But there's a lot of people that refer to this person as Spiro, and it makes it sound like it's a completely different famous lawyer, and it's not. The man's name is Spyro. But apparently, he came out and made this just unbelievable statement that said something along the lines that went like this. Of course I know Johnny Scoville, right? We're YouTubers, right? We're in the same industry. So if we go to a YouTuber kind of a convention thing or whatever, I'm going to run into Johnny Scoville. You might see a picture of me with my arm around him. I mean, we're in the same industry. We hang out in the same places. If we happen to be at a basketball game like the NBA championships, we're going to support one another. That's how this industry is. But there's nothing more than that. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures on the Sean Atwood program today of the two of them together. These guys were, come on, man. Come on, man. You cannot believe for a half a second that not only are these guys friends, they're good friends. They're brothers, man. They're the only people that allow the other to call them Sean, right? That my mom, right? Everybody else got to call me Diddy, except Mr. Carter. And apparently everybody's got to call Voldemort, except for the diddler, who gets to call him Sean. By the way, funny, I did a video yesterday, and instead of putting up Mr. Carter's image and name, I went with Voldemort instead. Now, the pupils, if you look really carefully, may have been you know who. But the regular image was Voldemort, and I'm not saying the guy's name because I'm tired of shooting stuff for free, right? Because he goes after people, and it's just weird. I can talk about Diddy all day long, but if I start talking about Mr. Carter, my videos get dinged and demonetized. So I did the Voldemort thing, and I hope it catches on, because guess what, peeps? Yeah, we're still green on that one. So, yeah, no, they're not friends. They're not friends at all. I agree with you. These people are not technically friends. Their kids don't call each other uncle. These people are thicker than thieves. Allegedly, I'm not saying this. I'm just repeating this. But allegedly, he shares everything, right? Carter shares everything with Combs. I do mean everything. Hey, you know what? What's tossing someone around among brothers, right? Filthy. Absolutely filthy. But if you believe that this guy's comfortable sharing his wife with another guy and then say that he and that guy are not friends, that doesn't pass the you know what test. He who must not be named, that will also work. I like that quite a bit as well. Yes, it was. Absolutely it was. I will give Anka full credit for that. Irish, good to see you. They were Boots boys. Yeah, I'll tell you something. Here's the deal. There's a great clip out right now. There's a really, really great clip out. Not friends, cult members. Well played, Tractor. Well played. And I'm glad you said that. I am going to be doing stuff on the Lifeboat within the next 7 days. So I'll say this week, even though we're close to the end of this week. But within the next 7 days, I'm going to be doing a show on Scientology. So there's going to be some cult stuff coming up. You don't have to be friends to be caught up in RICO. That's the fact. It doesn't hurt, though. And these guys are thicker than thieves. They go to parties together. They do vacations together. These fools are friends. And I mean the best of friends. If you believe things that other people say, yeah, he let the witch hang out with his best friend. You know, hang out. You know, Corn Pope, good to see you. Yeah. Allegedly, I never get your name right, so I'll just put it up there and go, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. I do believe wholeheartedly. Do you think Diddy's lawyer purposely let out do you think Diddy's lawyer purposely let out J-Lo's name in those court documents? I don't know. Tell you what, though. Hats off to BJ for catching that. I thought it was Voldemort's lawyer. Maybe I'm a mistake. Maybe I made a mistake on that. But no matter which lawyer it was a great catch on BJ's part. And my gosh, it really did. Yes, I thought it was Spiro. It's really a fairly unbelievable thing, isn't it? I mean, I can't honestly. I'm not exact. Real P, thank you so much. I really don't know what to say on that, if it was leaked intentionally or not. If not, it's rookie, right? You hack. But the timing was great because I was right in the middle of doing something on J-Lo when people came in and was like, hey, guess what BJ just found out? Yeah, it's Spiro's calculated. Definitely intentional, says Shannon K. That, it may be the case. It really may be the case. Right now, and I've said this is such a shit show. I'm sorry. But they're playing chess, right? And they're playing chess with the case is getting lost in the weeds. The accusations are getting lost in the weeds. And right? It's a bummer. And they're professional at this, right? They used to hire PR firms. And PR firms would come in and they would tell people, look, this is what you really ought to say on this. Your brand, your reputation is taking a hit, right? And here's what you need to say on this. Now they're out there and they're bringing in people who run psyops. They hire people who used to do psyop stuff for the government to help them run business and to help them run corporations and these kind of people. Allegedly, right? Lawsuit filed yesterday alleges that people representing Voldemort were rolling up on former clients of Busby's, carrying badges to try to get them to come out with lawsuits or dirt or whatever on Busby, like he whipped his junk out or he ripped him off or he told him he was going to do this and didn't do that. Anything that they could try to discredit or disbar him for. And that, people, You'd have to talk to one of the professionals because I'm not the brightest bulb, but I got to believe that's illegal. No? Yeah, got to be illegal. Do you think there are any other people in the background inflating the energy on Diddy and these stories to distract from whatever they themselves are doing? Good God, yes. Absolutely there are. There are people out there. There are so many people out there that have a vested interest in this story going up, going down, going sideways. And there are a lot of people that are doing everything possible to steer it, to steer it. And I think what is really, really fantastic is that these guys are beginning to get into a position where they're not going to have much of a choice. They're going to have to start firing at each other. I'm just a convict, people. I'm not an attorney. I don't play one, but I'll tell you something. This looks like a fist fight, right? And that enemy of my enemy is a friend of mine thing. The government is going to find themselves in a very, very unique position. The government is going to be able to put themselves into a very unique position to say, you know what? I think we probably got enough to put both of these guys away, right? But I sure as hell would like it to be a lot easier. So why don't we cut? Hold on one second. Every once in a while, it is important to be able to say to somebody, you know what? You don't have to drink or drug today. And I got a friend of mine that's part of my group that's having a bad day. And they said, you don't have to hang up. So I'm leaving this in a message for them right now. And just in case they also happen to be watching live, there are days you just can say to yourself, I don't have to do drugs and I don't have to drink today. And it works. Honest to God, it does. And there's a lot of people out here that care about you. So get in my chat. That helps too. They did ask me not to get off the live. Please don't get off the live or I would have. I'm watching some videos now and sharing Scientology. We're going to be doing a lot on that. My girlfriend is an ex-Scientologist, and this becomes very relevant toward the things that we're doing, especially with the secret society stuff. Believe it or not, there's a tie-in, and it's unbelievable. Bill Herrera says, that's a psyop. I believe that is the truth. I don't think you just go, all right, tell you what, round up Tony and Mark and get Kevin and 3 or 4 other guys and grab some badges and go post up in front of the attorney's office. You should be dressed, like cops, but plain clothes, and then roll up on them with the badges because they're less likely to what? Walk away or say, no, I'm not talking to you. Somebody rolls up with a badge and says, I want to talk to you about your, what happened with you. And now allegedly they got this recorded. God, let that be true. God, let that be true. There is so much going on, right? I'm going to tell you right now, we'll make making friends and influencing people. There are content creators that I promise you are getting paid to do the content they're doing. They can't be this dumb, right? They can't believe the things that they're saying. They would have to be getting paid for it. If I came out today and started doing this diatribe on how I guarantee you that Mr. Carter has never done any of the kind of things, even remotely thought of doing the kind of things that they allege. This is a guy that never would be with somebody like that. And 4 minutes of research, right? You don't have to deep dive. Hell, you could learn it all right on YouTube. This dude, even his girl, right? Hold on one second. Even his girl. How old was his girl when they started hanging out? You guys know the answer to this, right? Tony Zooter, good to see you. Oh, we don't worry about typos, real tea. Are you kidding? This is a guy that likes them really, really young. There's no getting around it. There isn't. Girl he's with. He's slipped up before. You saw him on Rose, right? Charlie Rose. Watch that one. He gets some dates wrong. He puts himself with this girl when she was a hell of a lot younger than 18. We accepted it. We do. We accepted it. We kind of let it slide. What was the other girl's name? Foxy Brown? Right? Foxy Brown? This is the person that has allegedly spent a lot of time around people who are under the age. And in some cases, allegedly, I've heard Jaguar talk about him flying people in from other countries. Right? That's a terrifying thing. Galen, tossing out Lifeboat memberships like hot sauce packets. Thank you, Galen. I appreciate that. Kim says, I saw some pictures yesterday of him with Beyonce when she was 16. Yeah. You're 16. You're beautiful. He ought to be doing time. One of many. One of many. And you know what happens, right? Galen, thank you again. You know what happens, right? Who cares? Right? Who cares? What's this got to do with us? These are those Hollywood weirdos. What has this got to do with me? Right? I got a job. I go out and do that. This isn't even the real world. This is Hollywood. They're all freaks. Who cares? Well, I'll tell you what, man. Honestly, it starts to erode the fabric. It sounds stupid as hell, but I'm telling you the truth. It has an effect on society. The crap you tolerate, right? The stuff that you allow to go on in the world that you live in. And we do have control. We do. It's a crazy thing. Lisa Trimble, good to see you. How are you? Welcome to the boat. I'm glad you're listening in the background. Block A, good to have you here as well. Alcohol or drugs are calling you. Well, I will tell you as well. You have the ability to tell it no. And I know you personally, and I know that you have the ability to tell it. I bet he doesn't want the DNA test to show that he was in with an underage kid. You know, Kim, it's a recurring theme. It's a recurring theme. You know, I say this all the time. We look for fire, right? You don't look for smoke, you look for fire. But you're going to find that freaking fire because there's a crap load of smoke. And every once in a while, you hear these stories that are outliers. Like you've never heard anything else about a person. And it's just so far out of left field. Doesn't mean it's not true. But traditionally, the people that do this sick kind of crap do it again and again and again and again. This is what turns people's cranks. Good, bad, or otherwise, that doesn't change. Right? These aren't people that get rehabilitated. And unfortunately, if they've got a crap ton of money, right? The more you do it in plain sight, right? The less people give a crap. Remember that? The 90s, there was that period of time where everybody was dressing like pimps. Like the award ceremonies, there'd be like 40 people walking out all dressed as pimps. There was just this thing that was like, we are still aware of what a pimp is. Or maybe not. They're the dudes that put the rings on before they slap a woman in the face because it gets their attention, make sure they continue to go back out and get that money. It's not a glorious thing. It's a pretty disturbing freaking thing. But for so long, all of this has been so in our faces, right? How many times you heard people say, yeah, you know what? The music is so disrespectful with all that bitches and hoes and all that stuff. Who cares? Well, 30 years later, what's happening? You think we're respecting people more because of that after 3 decades of that cranking out? Should we give it 2 more decades and see? Honestly, man, it starts getting crazy. It really does. And I hate to sit here and sound like a friggin' minister because it's not really where I'm trying to go. But we're into some pretty heavy stuff. Am I wrong? Honestly, if I'm wrong, I don't know. I think that the days of glorifying stuff that's really shitty has to stop. I do. This kid, if you read the lawsuit by Little Rod, this kid's way more tied up in this than a sack of pink stuff in his pocket. This is not, I believe, this is Tommy's theory, people. I'm not going to say allegedly because this is my theory, right? But my theory is there's a hell of a lot more on this kid, right? A hell of a lot more on this kid. And because of that, I'll bet you he's been cutting a deal, and I think that's probably why we haven't seen a picture of him or a video of him walking down the street. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of them now. So in theory, this kid's he's got no paper, right? He killed it. You understand what I mean by that? So he got arrested, and there was a charge, and this charge was serious, and he did his diversion. And it must have been 6 months because he just got killed. It hasn't been a year. So 6 months, they killed the paper, whatever. He's clean. He's done. Now what? Now what? Are we going to see him start popping up in the real world? Is he still hiding because he doesn't want people yelling questions at him? Oh, he can take a deal. Absolutely. Anybody that is charged in America can cut a deal and lessen their time. The idea being a couple of things. Number one, if a person pleads guilty, you can't accidentally lose. They can't pay off a juror. They can't have any of these things. And I'm not saying that could, but it happened once before, didn't it? Allegedly, out of his own mouth, he said he bought a jury once before. So if you could get a guy like him to plead to something and lessen the, so if they came to him and said, you're looking at 2 life sentences. If you plead guilty to this, we give you 50 years, right? He could say, yeah, I'll take it. Get him out in 100, right? I don't know how low they could possibly go with this. Because when you hear people say, well, I mean, these things only carry 15 years. There are people that aren't looking at this. You really got to read everything that the feds do when they charge people. It's like the base charge, and then they keep doing all of this stuff that is aggravating to stack it and make it worth more time. And they do it on a grid, I've told you before. And as a bank robber, you go down and bank robbery is a 21, right? Base offense level 21. If you get more than 100 grand or 200 grand or whatever the cutoff is, they bump you up 2 points. If you've done more than 4 banks, they bump you up 2 more points. And they just keep doing all of this until they get to the end of it, right? It's this is the same kind of thing. Diddy, he has the flying somebody in, right? When you have coercion, which is one of the elements, if the coercion is violence, you're no longer looking at 30 years, right? You're no longer looking at 2 charges at 15 years each. If there's violence in them, that's going to jack it through the roof. And allegedly, there's a lot of violence in it. Hey, back, good to have you here. Pamela says, Anna, I agree. Voldemort is the puppet master. Jaguar Wright, who, by the way, said hi to me yesterday as she was leaving the Atwood program. Well, I was absolutely touched. I'm a fan. But he has always alleged that he's the smarter of the 2 evil brothers. He's the more patient of the 2 evil brothers. And he is the more evil of the 2. And that's remarkable to try to wrap your dome around because of how evil Diddy is. However, if he's smarter and he's more patient, he's probably left a lot less evidence. It seems like, to me anyway, that the diddler was, especially toward the end of this reign of terror, he was like a serial killer that was getting out of control. In the first 5 or 6 years you do this kind of foulness, I would imagine you're a little nervous. I would imagine you're thinking, oh God, I'm going to get caught. I can't believe I did this, right? The person left. What if they call the cops? I would imagine after the first decade that you've made 10 or 20 of those go away, right? What do you think? It's interesting. The longer you do this, right, the more active these people become. It's like serial killers. And by the end, Bundy was killing multiple people in one day. And I think that by the end of this, it was so flagrant and so out of control that he was willing to do this with the entire world watching. He was willing to do this with witnesses around, and they spiral out of control. And I think that's what we saw with him. Very much like a serial killer. 3 white men follow Jag blindly. Would I be one of those? I started out as one of the biggest critics of Jaguar Wright. I don't know if you ever, my early days of Jaguar and watching what she did, I didn't buy any of it. I didn't. I don't follow anyone blindly. I have a list of things that Jaguar has talked about that I'm really looking forward to asking her about because I struggle with them. However, I had a much longer list of things that I thought were absolute, just ridiculous. There's no way. And then the dominoes start to fall, and you start to see that, boy, oh boy, man, a lot of the things that this person has said have fallen into place. So I'll continue to go the route I go. And with all due respect, I encourage you to do the same. Oh, no. I see a Bee Gees comment, which means there's got to be a Jeremy Shelton somewhere in the crowd. There he is. Couldn't Barry Gibb plead guilty for destroying music in the 1970s? He should receive an extra 10 years of solitary for each of the brothers' involvement too. Well, that's just not right. That's just not right at all. The Bee Gees saved the 70s. If it wasn't for them, music just would have sucked. Although, I mean, there were the Eagles, and I guess there was Creedence was in there, and there are some good bands in the 70s, but the 70s were the Bee Gees, man. Come on now. Why, thank you, Kim. That's Bill Herrera. I happen to agree, right? Diddy had a sick addiction that got out of control, stealing and controlling souls. Correct. Absolutely. This is not something that had anything to do with sexual desire or anything else. I'm sure that you've all heard the term psychic vampirism, or energy vampires or psychic vampires or any of those things, where I do believe wholeheartedly that there are people that seem to thrive on hurting people. Right? Hurting people. And I don't necessarily mean physically hurting people. I mean devastating people psychologically for whatever reason seems to be something that is a big deal. Lori Hart, shame on you. Shame on you. I think that there are people who really do take some kind of there's an addiction of sorts to this. I knew a couple of folks over the time that I've been alive that were genuinely no joke evil. And there were a few in prison that I've talked about routinely, but there was a guy in prison that worked really, really hard. Right? Made tons of cash. He did it working at Unicor, and I mean prison cash, not street cash, obviously. But he would sometimes make $800 and $900 a month, which in prison is a ton of money. Right? It's a lot of money. And what he would do with it is buy 50 papers. Now, if you are not familiar with prison, it is literally just a small square of plastic that has a smear of H on it, right, of an opiate. A very, very small amount. On the street, it might have been worth $2, something like that. And inside, it's worth about 50. But he would get these 50 papers and he would offer them to people, especially people that had just gotten there off the bus, and ask them to sign a contract selling their soul. Right? And there's people would walk in the door and go, I don't believe in any of that crap. What difference does it make to me? I don't believe in any of it. They would take $50 worth of tar and sign a piece of paper, which they had to prick their finger for. This is a silly ritual that this dude inside made up, right? And this is what's going on in most people's heads. But I watched people go batshit crazy, right? Down the line, 4 months, 5 months later, going back and going, hey, you know what? No, man, I want that back, right? Give me that paper. And it was a constant. At any given time, there were people trying to get back. And I think that it's just one of those dudes that thrived on seeing people distressed. There was no other reason for the shit that he did. And I believe that to a much more disturbing level, that's what we're watching. And I think that that's what Hollywood's built on. I really do. Pick an industry that we don't see this. In every aspect of entertainment is somebody, right, that is thriving on making people do things that they don't want to do. Right? Making people do things they don't want to do. And we've heard for allegations from eggs being jammed up people's backsides to forcing men to appear in dresses and all of these things that are kind of ritualistically humiliating. And then allegedly through all of this is being filmed. And then this stuff is then leveraged in order to get people to do whatever it is that they want them to do and to get the circle to grow bigger. It seems that a lot of this blackmail was used to bring more people in, right? For real. Like you get somebody and you go, oh, Usher, you just signed Bieber, bring Bieber around. I know he's with you. He's not with me. Bring him around. I want him in this circle. And then it just continues, and they grow this debaucherous group of people that allegedly are using chemicals to knock people out, right? And film them in compromising positions to do what with? Sell it, right? That's been alleged. It has been alleged that a lot of these tapes have been sold on the dark web. There's no way in hell to chase that down. There are things that people can say that, quite simply put, there no way to chase down. It is what it is, but there are a lot of people who have. I don't know how many people other than Diddy were filming people and using it. This is recurring, right? We know this. This is something that continues to come up, like these freaks from Florida, the Alexander brothers that just recently got caught. These are the real estate moguls that for allegedly decades, right? At least two of them allegedly, 2 decades. These three brothers have been doing, for all intents and purpose, what Sean Combs has been doing. But all women, and apparently most of legal age. Going back to when they were in high school, and these people have been filming it all of this time. It is once again the incredibly wealthy doing whatever it is that they want to do, and believing that that wealth entitles them to just do horrific things. Can the feds or Homeland Security get videos off the dark web? Now, this is what is alleged. What is alleged is not that they're out there like you could go to Pornhub on the dark web and watch these things. Allegedly, they have been sold off of the dark web. Like there are people out there that will list these videos. Now, could the Department of Homeland Security try to track down who would be selling these? Keep in mind, these are allegations, right? There is no proof, right? We have absolutely no proof whatsoever that any of this has been sold on the dark web. That doesn't mean it hasn't been, right? It just means that, and I've spent a decent amount of time because a lot of people talk about it, right? A lot of people, I can't tell you the number of shows I've seen where people talk about these videos being sold on the dark web. It's speculation. At best, it's speculation. And I'm not saying that it's BS. I'm just saying I don't know how much, with everything that has been with everything that we know to have taken place, or we have strong reason to believe is factual, I don't know that they're going to chase down things that are real speculative. I think that especially with we have a very, very short window of time, because the defense has said they want this thing to go off on Cinco de Mayo, on May 5th. With all due respect, peeps, with all due respect, I don't talk about content creators from the front, right? I don't trash content creators when I'm on here, and I'm never gonna. Not something I'm ever gonna do. It's bad form. It is. That's my humble opinion. Now, should people allow or platform somebody? I will never platform someone on my channel if they start trashing a content creator while I'm filming with them. I'll shut it down, because that's something that has been kind of a thing with the Lifeboat from the very beginning. I'm not talking about content creators. You end up becoming a channel that talks about content creators, and that's not what I'm interested in. I'd kind of like to elevate that to a different, I'd like to believe that we could be more cerebral than that, and maybe talk about issues and things that are going on in the world instead of slinging shit back and forth at people, right? Doesn't make sense. And I think that most people agree with me, right? So with that in mind, maybe we don't do it in the chat either. Please. It's just, You know, I wouldn't want other chats allowing people to trash me in their chat while they're having videos. So I would appreciate it if we don't do it here. Yeah, that would make me happy. Lisa Trimble, you are among friends. Lisa Trimble, and there is a checklist of things, right, that we do. And I hope that you're doing all of them after the connection, because connection is huge. I hope you get outside. I hope you go for a short walk, bring your doggy. Change what all of your senses are doing, right? Your brain doesn't like doing the same thing, right? Two things at the same time. It's absolutely impossible. So if you can get the thought out of your head that is making you want to use or making you think about using, and most people, you go outside, you smell the new air, you got wind blowing, the sensation of that on your face, you're walking, you're hearing cars, you're looking at, all of this going on tends to bombard your senses, and it'll clear that palette of the things in there that are bumming you out. I promise it works. Diddy and Voldemort are probably getting their sick kicks just knowing those videos are out there. Maybe not. I think that to some degree, there's probably that went on for probably a long time. I think probably now they're terrified, right? If you sold one of these things, if allegedly, right, this happened and you sold one of these things and you thought, man, I got $20 million for a video with like these 9 people in it. What do you think that's worth now? Huh? What if that person has decided since they bought that you're just a piece of shit, right? All they got to do is leak that puppy, and your case is not only cooked. Yeah, I bet that I don't think there's anybody out there that's really happy that those videos exist, unless he's got a greatest hits of a lot of really powerful people. But I got to be honest with you, I don't think the powerful people stuck around very long. I don't. I think the powerful people didn't get powerful by allowing themselves to hang out at parties like that and get doped. I think they were probably supplying the all of the party favors necessary to make this thing happen. I think the people we would love to see really hemmed up in this knew what was going on and were probably watching the videos, not in them. You know what I mean? Yadira! Hello, Yadira. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. So, one last thing real quickly. Jonathan Audie. If you're a fan of the Diddyverse, then you know who Jonathan Audie is. Years ago, Jonathan Audie went into a hotel, and the fact that the hotel happened to be owned by the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, made the story a whole lot bigger. It made it a much bigger story. But what ended up happening, hold on one second. Sorry. He went into this hotel, the Doral, and he brought in a pew, and he started putting lead into the ceiling of this place, right? And then he just started firing the thing off, like randomly, not at seemingly anything. And then he draped a big, huge American flag over the front desk. And eventually, the police showed up, as they will often do when you do something like this. And he pointed his weapon at them and discharged it, which is just a great way to spend the rest of your life behind bars. But in his interview, he brought up Diddy, and he brought up what sounded like freak-offs. And this was years before anyone ever mentioned it. He said he was a sex slave that worked for Diddy and that he had been paid to come in and have intercourse with Cassie, and that it had happened about 15 times. And he squirrels off in some directions that make you think that maybe he's not quite all there, right? But a lot of people did that, and then their stories have started to come back. It seems that people around this this happens a lot. Hold on one second. Sorry, peeps. Appreciate your patience. So he was in court today. Now, it's looking like they're going to try to put him into some kind of a facility, that he's open to pleading guilty and to not going to prison, and instead going to some kind of a facility for people who are having problems mentally, because I think that that's probably a fairly legitimate. I think it's a pretty legitimate place for the guy, and I mean that completely respectfully. if you watch any length of time of this guy talking, he seems to sometimes he's really quite lucid, and he seems to I don't know. I feel like this is a guy that could really benefit from seeing a doctor more than he would benefit from just being behind bars with people that are going to just. It's a very sad thing to watch somebody locked up who's not all correct in the head. It's a painful thing to watch the mentally ill behind bars. There are times where the prison is great and everybody kind of adopts people like that and they take care of them. It's actually a pretty wild phenomenon, but it's also not the standard. More often than not, these people get a new form of abuse, right? And whether it's, people not physically, because most of the time that the fellas won't put up with people beating on people who are infirmed. They usually don't allow that, but they get scammed, they get hustled, it's just bad. And I think it's probably, he was in court today. I think it would be an awful lot better if he was in a mental institution. And I also think that there's probably, exactly. I think that there's probably a decent amount of information inside this guy's dome, for real. As the farther along he got in this, he being Diddy and his minions, the farther they got along in this, the more blatant they were. But it's fascinating to listen to somebody talk about something. The video we're watching of him, right, is in what, 2018 or 2016? It was a long time ago. So to hear him talking about freak offs and everything that was going on with he and Diddy at that point, that's pretty wild stuff. It really is. It's pretty wild stuff. Gail, they're trying to get Jonathan Auty into. Jonathan Auty is a gentleman that went into the Doral, which is a hotel owned by the former president of the United States, Donald J. He went in, fired his weapon up into the ceiling of the place, ended up shooting at a couple of officers. When they interrogated him, in the middle of the interrogation, he said, "Hey, do you guys know who Sean Combs is?" And the guy doing the interrogation said, "Yeah, did he?" He goes, "Yeah. I was a sex slave for him, right? He hired me to come and sleep with he and Cassie and all of that." It's a pretty wild thing. It really is. Hold on a second. Yeah. So that's who Jonathan Auty is. Dead Cell says Auty was the start of this, I think, in his interrogation. I believe, and I'll end it with this because I got to go get ready for the Sean Atwood program. But I believe this. I believe that Diddy picked a fist fight with a group of people he shouldn't have picked a fist fight with. I believe that with the size of the corporation and the kind of deal that they had with Diddy, they were probably watching their investment around the clock. I bet you that they had investigators watching their own guy. I bet they had him watched around the clock. And I think that once he picked a fight with them, they went, "Oh, really?" And they took the whole dossier that had ever been made on him and they dropped it right off. And I think that started an avalanche. And that avalanche, I think in the process, they also got Cassie from trying to pull this off on her own to getting a smoking legal team. And the reason I say this stuff is if you look at Cassie's lawsuit, if you look at Little Rod's lawsuits, these don't look like lawsuits traditionally look. They look like a prosecution's case. Like they have put this together with everything with a bow on it. Here you go. And if you look at the case against Diddy currently, it's Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. It is, with a little Rod stuff thrown in there for a little good measure. But it primarily, this was Cassie's lawsuit, and I think that there's a lot of other people, right? Because I think that there's something to that. But I think a lot of other people were in the exact same place at the exact same time, and by that I mean. Jonathan Auty could have got the ball rolling on this. So could people like Kat, right? Kat's prediction sounded so much like he either had talked to some people or some people had talked to him. He knew what was coming. Or he's just prescient, right? He sees into the future. But boy, he did a hell of a job. Uh-oh, Shelton's on it again. What did you do, Shelton? I once knew a guy who wasn't all there. His boss told him to kill all the golfers. Unfortunately, he misheard. Yeah, it's not my fault, you fuzzy foreigner. You Greek? Sorry. Great movie reference. Damn good movie reference. Why, Galen? What a kind thing to say. I think Reese is fond of us together, and I am fond of us together as well. Megan, good to see you. Speaking of which, you're going to want to be checking it out. There's going to be a lot of content coming between the 3 channels. People, this is going to get ugly. I promise you. Now, you're also going to want to head over to the Sean Atwood program if you like what I'm doing over there. If you don't, then I will see you the next time I am over here on the Lifeboat. Squirrel, what are you doing? Come say hi. Between now and the next time I see you. Oh, she's over there drinking. Yeah, Johnny, why don't you put up some links before I go? George says, Sean's and love your channels. Well, good. I really, I do appreciate that. I love being over there. I absolutely love being over there. It's a great group of people. I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that myself and Sean, right, have a kind of a similar existence with the fact that we both have survived, going to prison and then getting out and remaining sober, doing all of that stuff. So I think that the audience already learned to accept a guy that's pretty similar to me anyway, so it just sort of works. Hopefully I will see you all over on the Sean Atwood program. If not, I will see you the next time we are here. Between now and then, squirrel. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. Have a great day, everybody.